Everybody, I think I'm on. I just finished streaming the advertising networks into BGP. It was kind of fun. It's kind of fun to have people listening in and actually seeing how I create nuggets here at CBTNuggets. So I thought I'd do it again. Why not? So topic for now is here. I'll actually I'll pop it up right here. It will be redistributing networks to and from BGP. So again, this is the behind the scenes version of Jeremy, which actually isn't that different from the in front of the scenes versions of Jeremy, just with a little more. Actually, I'm not sure what the difference would be, other than I kind of come down and tone down my my presentation mode, I guess you could say, a little bit when I'm talking directly to you. Folks listening in and streaming. I think I'm streaming. I don't see anybody online, so it's just me. That's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the lab, and I can actually show you what I'm doing here. Bring up the lab environment. This is a fully emulated environment. We make this available now at CBTNuggets to do all kinds of things. And so when I'm getting ready for this, honestly, a lot of the stuff I do is a little bit more spontaneous. I created this lab last week, so it's been about, 4 or 5 days since I built this lab. And I won't actually prepare for it before I do it, other than reading through, seeing what I'm going to be doing, but I don't actually walk through it. I prefer to actually do the demonstration blind, just so I can kind of go at it and run into issues. I don't follow any kind of script at all. Nor do I have a perfect clean video every time either. And there's times where I'll go through, I'll get stuck. I'm like, I don't know. And I'll cut the video and just start over and do it again the next time. And there's sometimes where I figure it out and get through. Again, that's some of, people are like, what's the secret of your video? My secret is there's no secret. I just kind of do stuff and talk about it, and people tune in, and that's the fun part about it. So again, the topic, this is actually part of the CCNP ENCOR series that we're building right now at CBTNuggets. And I want to make sure that all my settings are right, because there's nothing worse, and I do this all the time, where I actually will do a recording and forget to have my audio on, or forget to hit the record button. And again, with the way that I record, I will be, 10 minutes, 20 minutes into a recording. I've actually gone all day once doing recordings, and then realized my batteries were dead in my headset or something like that, and it's just dumb. That's the drawback of being a little more spontaneous. So so it looks like I'm good. It looks like this is it. So let me just read through the lab, and I'll talk through it as I do it. So this is part 2 of the lab. And again, I'm not recording yet, but I will. So fishnet. So we've got, let me get I'm glad I checked, get my pen tool. So some of the fishnet customers do not have customers with or some of the fishnet customers do not have customers with routers. I'm glad I read that wrong. Hang on, let me fix that. Some of the fishnet customers do not have, I must have been thinking while writing, do not have routers that support, there we go, do not have routers that support BGP and would like to convert to using OSPF to communicate with those select customers. That doesn't sound quite right. So I will just, do not have routers that support BGP. Fishnet would like to convert to using OSPF to communicate with those select customers. Redistributing routes between the two protocols is needed. So that's the scenario. Okay, reestablish. So the first step, and I do this through all the BGP labs, I go through and make sure that you do what you did in the previous videos, so it just starts becoming muscle and memory. Reestablish external midnet and bignet BGP neighbor sessions. Internet routes should be received by Fish1. Good. Then establish OSPF relationships between Fish1, C1 and C2 routers. OSPF should advertise the public Customer 1 and Customer 2 networks to Fish1. OSPF. Okay, so establish OSPF between this group. Good. And OSPF should advertise the public routes to Fish1. Good. Set up OSPF to BGP redistribution with a route map, ensuring the only the two customer networks leave autonomous system. Okay, so this is going to be heavy, I debated putting this into the early BGP stuff, but I was kind of like, it's now or never. If you're in BGP, go big or go home. We're going to actually implement filtering on there. Set up BGP redistribution with a route map. That is actually filtering, which is going to blow some people away. And just so you know my thought process, I'm like, that's fine. That's why it's a video. You can watch it and you can be like, what the? And then you'll come back and do it all over again. And you're like, okay, that makes a little more sense. So this will be a heavy video, especially, whoa, what just happened there? Especially if you're, I know what that is. If you're just getting into, let me just throw that in my downloads folder, save. If you're just getting into BGP, it will be a heavy video, and that's okay. I was downloading the last video I just did. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so that is downloading right now. Where was I? Boom, back there. Okay, so okay, good. And I'm actually glad that window popped up now versus when I was actually recording, because that stuff happens all the time. It ruins the video. So then set up BGP to OSPF redistribution with a route map. So again, this is filtering, ensuring only the one network appears in the customer 1 and customer 2 routing table. Okay, cool. So if you're just tuning in, I'm about to start recording. All I did was, and that's me looking at my cell phone and getting messed up. All I did was just go through the lab so I know kind of what I'm doing before I actually start teaching it. So that being said, now let me bring up the lab environment. That's there. Good. Okay. So flip the switch into my trainer mode. So that's gone. Go right here. Okay, so I always have some kind of witty, creative intro to the BGP. So I usually will just sit and think for a second. Okay, good. Something like this. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so creative intro on its way. Here we go. In the last video, we talked about how we advertise networks using the network command into the BGP process. Now, let's do some exchange. BGP into OSPF, OSPF to BGP. And then, and by the way, this is where music is playing. And people go, hey, we're ready. By the time we're done here, we will advertise prefixes between an IGP and BGP. And in this case, the IGP happens to be the OSPF routing protocol. So let's take a look at the scenario. Now, again, if you've done this before, as soon as you see the scenario, pause, work through the lab in the lab environment on your own. Come back here, listen to me if you get stuck. If not, if this is your first time going through, then just hang back. Grab your pen, paper, take notes as you walk through. I of course, do the lab itself, but I'll add a ton of explanation as we go through. So here's our story. Some of the fishnet customers, which is this guy and this guy, do not have routers that support BGP. Fishnet would like to convert to using OSPF to communicate with these guys. So right here, OSPF, because their routers don't support BGP. So we'll use that, and then redistributing routes between the two protocols as needed. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, first off, we're going to reestablish the neighbor sessions. From here to here and here to here, those are going to be eBGP sessions. From there, we're going to set up OSPF relationships between these routers. And then OSPF should advertise the public customer 1 and customer 2 networks to fish 1. So let me clear all this chicken scratch off. This network and this network will advertise to the fish router using OSPF, right? Then this is where the magic comes in. Set up OSPF to BGP redistribution using a route map, ensuring the only two customers, only those two, hang on, let me read that again. Set up OSPF to BGP redistribution with a route map, ensuring only the two customer networks leave Autonomous Systems 64777. So this network should leave to the rest of the world. This network, obviously, it's a private network, should not. Now, I'm going to just take a moment right there and say, this is heavy. But when you get to redistribution, it's one of those go big or go home kind of events where you're either going to do redistribution and really understand how to do filtering, how to make sure only the right things get in and get out, or you're not going to do redistribution. Why? Well, because think about it this way. BGP is the routing table of the internet, right? Huge, hundreds of thousands of routes. OSPF, EIGRP, internal routing table can maybe handle a few thousand routes, right? If you redistribute, say that 5 times, BGP into an interior protocol without knowing what you're doing with filtering, you will blow up the entire internal network because you'll be overloading the internal protocol with more routes than it's designed to do. It'd be a fun science experiment to do, but that's why we have filtering introduced right here. It is a heavy topic. Hang on, let me get back there. There we go, right here. So then from there, we're going to set up BGP to OSPF. So we're going to do two-way redistribution, OSPF to BGP, and make sure those routes go through, and BGP to OSPF, and make sure that we receive only the one network on the C1 and C2. So we're going to put our filters in place. So, you ready? I'm ready. So let's get going. I'm going to flip back over to our lab environment. So we've got the Fish1 router. So our first step is to reestablish the external BGP sessions with Midnet and BigNet. Okay, so right here, I'm going to do a quick show IP interface brief. Just get oriented. Good. There's my routers. I'm going to go into global config mode, router BGP 64777. Actually, you know what? I forgot. I dove in. I've done this setup like 3 times already, and you've seen it 3 times. I'm going to do this behind the scenes, put it on hyperspeed so it just flies right through. This is stuff you've seen before. Okay. So by the way, now I'm just talking to the streaming folks that are still with me. I'll hide my little image because otherwise it's going to go in this really fast, awkward talking mode. So I'll talk to you behind the scenes. So this is something that I'm going to do and just put it to music. So I'll do a router ID 1.1.1.1 because this is actually this is something that we did in previous videos plenty of times before. So I'll do neighbor 198.51.100. This is where I don't remember what those are. .9 and .13. So .9 is Midnet. So that's going to be remote AES 65.450. Enter. And the other neighbor is going to be BigNet. And that will be 65.500, I believe. Yeah, 65.500 on the remote autonomous system. Good. So at this point, those 2 neighbors are up. I'll do a show IP BGP summary. That verifies that my 2 neighbors are there. And I've got the routes that are received, show IP BGP, and I can see all the external routes being received right there. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my instructor mode, and this is where the edit would end. Okay, so we've done that. We now have the Midnet and BigNet BGP neighbor relationship to reestablish. I verified, and actually I can show that to you right now in non-hyperspeed. All of the routes from the internet are being received by our emulated internet, are being received by the Fish1 router. So we're good. So now step 2 says set up OSPF relationships between Fish1, C1, and C2 routers. So that's going to be right here, OSPF running, and advertise the 2 public customer 1 and customer 2 routes up to fish number 1. Fish number 1 or Fish1 router, right? So I'll jump back here and let's get OSPF going. I'm going to go into global config mode. And by the way, if nobody tells you to do it, just assume OSPF area 0. You don't have to get fancy ABRs, ASBRs, nothing like that. So we'll do a router OSPF, and that was weird. I said OSPF and typed BGP. There's something in my brain. OSPF 1, and I'll just do network 10.0.0.0 because we'll make this really simple. Wildcard bits, let's go crazy. Run area 0. Run OSPF on the entire 10 network. So Fish1 is good. Customer 1 router, I'll do a show IP interface brief. And I will do a global config mode, router OSPF 1, network 10.0.0.0. And mask 0.255.255.255. I know it's super lazy OSPF, right? And that's fine. Area is 0. But I will also do network 203.0.113.0, which is that public network 0.0.0.255. Area is 0. So that should be advertised up to the Fish 1 router. So I'll do a show IP OSPF neighbor just to make sure that I have a neighbor relationship with the Fish router. I'll do a show IP route on the Fish router just to make sure I see all the BGP routes. I don't see the OSPF route yet. Why is that? Let's do a where am I? Show IP OSPF neighbor. Okay, just slow. Thank you, emulator. So we've got BGP. There we go. OSPF route. Now it's shown up. I'm faster than the iOS. I'm amazing. So I'm going to go to customer router 2. Let's do it again. Actually, I'll do a show IP interface brief just to make sure. I did this in one video and figured out my subnet mask was wrong and fixed that. So I'll do a router OSPF 1 network 10.0000255.255.255 area 0. And then I'll do a network 203.0.113.0.0.0.255 area 0. Boom. So now we've got neighbor relationships going everywhere. Now, normally, I will say, if this was a real data center, this would be a travesty. This would be like a total security violation because we just had two separate customers form an OSPF relationship and they can now access each other's network directly. That's messed up. So in a real data center, they would actually have that being VLANed off and segmented and things like that. But for now, we're learning, right? So bring up our lab environment. Okay, so good. So now I should be able to go to Fish 1 and do a show IP route, and let's do an OSPF on there. And sure enough, I see the two OSPF routes. Great. Now, we're ready for step number 3. Set up OSPF to BGP redistribution with a route map, ensuring that only the two customer networks leave Autonomous System 64777. Okay. So first and foremost, I want to go to a whiteboard real quick and talk about what is this route map thing. Well, I would say it goes hand in hand with BGP. If you don't know route maps, you don't know BGP, and vice versa. A route map, and by the way, you'll type it in the syntax by typing route-map, is your way of applying almost like an if-then programming language step to BGP. Now don't let that scare you. I went to college for computer science. I know the barriers that people have when you're getting into computer programming. And it's not that bad, right? So a route map is simply a list of sequences. Now, I come from way back when, Commodore 64, Atari, basic programming where you would have line 10, echo, hello, and then you'd have line 20, go to 10, and then you'd execute your program, and your screen would fill with hell. Hello, it just from top to bottom because you created a looped thing where it's just these are your sequence numbers, and that's how route maps work. Is you'll have your sequence numbers, and actually it's really common to have them split up by 10. So I might have sequence number 10, and instead of if then, it is match/set commands. So match some criteria, such as match this network, match this interface, match this neighbor, match some criteria, and then set something. In this case, what we're going to be doing is matching. What are we going to be doing? We're going to match. Actually, I'm not sure. What are we matching? I should create a plan for this. So we've got our Fish 1 router, right? So here's Fish 1. We've got these OSPF networks being advertised up, and I'm going to say I want a BGP session going up here to, let's just say, BNet, right here. So by default, when I do redistribution, which by the way is one of the easiest configs you can do in the world, all I do is go under router BGP, and it's one command, redistribute OSPF, right? That's it. And you put the process ID, process 1, right? And all the OSPF routes go into BGP. Now, if you've got private networks in OSPF, that's a big deal, and that's a problem. So what we'll do often is we'll attach a route map to the neighbor and say, I want to match. So in this case, I don't think I would have, any set statement. So I would just match based on an access list. So I would create an access control list, which I know might be like, well, security, access control lists are used for all kinds of things. Security, like firewalls, if you apply them to an interface, but also for filtering. All they do is permit or deny networks, in this case, to be advertised via BGP. So I can create an access control list that says, I want to match essentially what are they? The 203, I'm going to about write on my head right here, 203.0.113.0 networks, /24, let's just say, and permit those to go out. And then what is at the bottom of every access list? A deny, right? So everything else will be denied. So I can actually attach that to the redistribution. I'll show you that in just a second. So that's what a route map is. Now let me show you how to do it, right? So flip back here, back to the diagram. Let's bring up the router. So I'm going to go to the fish router. So the fish router is technically, if you want to talk about OSPF language, technically it is an OSPF ASBR. That is what the fish router is from OSPF's perspective, Autonomous System Boundary Router. It is the one sending routes into and out of the OSPF domain, right? From BGP's perspective, it's just a router, right? It's just sending BGP routes. So on Fish 1, the first thing I need to do if I'm creating a route map is to create the access list that we'll use in the route map. Now, looking back at the steps, it said on step 3, set up OSPF to BGP redistribution, ensuring only the 2 customer networks leave AS64777. So to me, that means there's one advertisement that we would need, or one entry, I should say, in our access list. So I'm going to go to global config mode. I'll do IP access list extended, right? And I'm going to look and I'm going to go, okay, the name of this will be, I'll just call it BGP filter, right? I love using named access lists. I hate using numbered access lists just because I can see that name and know exactly what it's there for. So BGP filter, hit the enter key. So I'm going to permit, and we'll say IP, so pretty much anything, we're not doing traffic filtering, port filtering, which confuses a lot of people. So the source network that I'm going to, okay, so this is the one that always gets me. So we're going from OSPF into BGP. So we're gonna apply an access list that says, as these networks come out, they're going to be filtered. So I'm going to say it'll be from the source any to the destination network 203. This is what we're going to allow. 203.0. I forgot the number. 203.0.113.0. There we go. 203.0.113.0. The wildcard mask is 0.0.0.255. Enter. With that one statement, what I've done, as I've said, I only want to allow this network through, right? Anything now I know there's 2 individual subnets of that, but from an access list perspective, those 2 individual subnets that are on the 2 customer networks will match this, right? They'll have no problem. They'll be like, okay, we still match even though we're individual subnets. Everything else, because there's an implicit deny, will be denied. But sometimes I like going in there and actually typing in deny IP any. Because that allows me to see it and remember it when I do a show access list. So I'll come back and do a show IP access list. There's my access list. You can see line 10, line 20 right there. Okay, good. That's one half of the configuration of a route map. Second half is this. I'm going to go into global config mode. I'm going to create the route map. I'll do route-map. And it says, what do you want to name this? And I will say filter OSPF. Right, that'll be the name of my route map. Hit the enter key. So in here now, this is where I was saying there's the 2 commands. You have match, and you have set. So I can type in match, and I'll look and I'll go, okay, what am I matching? Well, and notice you have all kinds of criteria. We've got additional paths, AS path. By the way, most of these, look at this, BGP. That's why I'm saying you don't know BGP if you don't know route maps, and you don't know route maps if you don't know BGP. They go hand in hand because you do so much inside of them. In this case, we're going to match an IP. So I'm going to say match the IP address, which seems funny because we're used to IP access group or IP access list, right? So we actually type in match the IP address, defined in, and now it's saying what is the access list name? I've already forgotten it, so let's scroll back up. I named this access list BGP filter. That's it right there. So highlight that. Highlight that and right click to copy and paste. So match the IP address BGP filter. You can see if I want to, I can add additional access lists to that list, which kind of ORs them together. You don't want to do that. It's confuse the daylights out of everybody. Hit the enter key and that's it. Now normally you can use route maps for all kinds of things, not just BGP. I could come in here and say, and then set and look at it. I mean, you can change all kinds of, you can say for these routes, I want to set, and this is where you get into the advanced BGP where you change the attributes. We're not doing that right now. We're just saying, match the address BGP filter, and that's it. That's all that there is to this route map. If I do a show route map, you can see right here, show route map. Sure enough, there's the BGP filter. Now, okay, now I don't like that name. So filter OSPF, that makes sense. BGP filter. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into global config mode, and we will do a router BGP 64777, and I'm going to attach this route map to this process. Watch this. I'm going to type in redistribute OSPF because I'm taking OSPF. Remember what I'm doing here. I'm grabbing my pen. I've got the fish router, right? Sitting right here, fish 1. Down here is all the OSPF. This is the customer routes, right? Up here is the BGP. This is the midnet and the big net, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say redistribute this into BGP. So notice I'm under, I won't even erase that just so you can reference it. I'm under the BGP process because I'm going into BGP and I'm saying redistribute OSPF, and I'll hit the question mark. It says, if I could type right there, OSPF, and then I say, okay, process ID 1, okay, hit the question mark, and notice if I just hit the enter key right now, my entire internal network just went out to the internet. Now, if it's a real carrier, if BigNet and MidNet right here were real carriers, they would have filters because they're protecting themselves just like you're protecting yourself, and they would keep you from doing something like that, hopefully. But that's what OSPF would do, or this redistribute command would just send every OSPF route, private, public, doesn't matter, to the internet, unless you come in and say, I'm going to filter that redistribute command with the route map of, and that's where I'm going to say the route map name is filter OSPF right there. Shazam. And hit the question mark. Now notice we can type in metrics and things like that. We're not going to, and by the way, match, you can do like external type 1, internal. There's all kinds of other things we can do. For now, I'm just filtering it using a route map. And now what I've done is sent OSPF routes into the BGP process. Let's see. Sometimes it takes some time, so let's see if it takes hold. Show IP BGP. Hit the enter key. And, oh, I'm not seeing it. Hang on. We'll give it some time. Okay, so I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to talk to the streamers now, people that are watching this on the live stream. So when I did this command, I 100% honest, I couldn't remember if I was filtering based on the source address. You remember in the extended access list, whether it's the source, and I think that's where it would go, or the destination. I chose the destination to match the networks. That may be wrong, and if they don't show up here, this is where I will learn from my mistake and either re-record the whole thing, or I'll just be like, oh, I was wrong, and delete the access list, and it might be that case. And I have a feeling. So this is where, again, this is why my videos on CBTNuggets are very real, is because this is very real. I don't remember. Okay, so back to presenter mode. Okay, so I've hit the up arrow a couple of times, and I'm not seeing those things show up, and I have a feeling. I have a funny feeling. Let me do a show IP access list. Remember when I went through and I kind of hesitated? I was saying, okay, we're going to filter this, and I'm going to do, permit IP from any source to these networks. I honestly couldn't remember at that point. Am I filtering that based on the destination or the source? And I had that gut. I'm like, let's try the destination. So I put, watch this. This will explain it. So I'm going to go into global config mode. I'm going to switch those two around, and that logically makes more sense, right? The source networks as they're coming out versus the destination that they're going to. So I'm going to go to IP access list. Hang on. You know what? No. So I was just thinking about, do I need to clear the BGP neighbor relationship between the two? Let me just do a show IP BGP summary. So before I contradict myself and undo an entire access list, I'm gonna reset the BGP neighbors, which in the emulator environment we don't have clear commands. So what I'll do to clear those neighbors is go into the interface that's connecting to them. So I'll do a show IP interface brief, and I will do a shut no shut. So I'll go to interface. I'm just thinking to myself out loud. Okay, so I have a feeling that I bet you the access list is wrong. So I'll do a shutdown, shut, interface GI 2/0, and I'll do a shut, right? And I can see the neighbor relationship goes down. There we go. And then I'll do a no shut. Power that back on. Go back under interface GI 1/0, no shut. And those neighbor relationships should reform. But the reason I was hesitating is I'm thinking, okay, well, wait a sec. If I've got the BGP process, the BGP process is independent of the neighbors. Those networks should show up. So I have a feeling the access list is backwards. So let's fix that. Show IP BGP. Yep. So it's updating the routes, but I'm still not seeing those routes from OSPF. So I'm going to go with my original theory. Show IP access list. Global config mode. I'll do IP access list extended, and we'll do BGP filter. And I'm going to do a no 10, right? Get that out of there. And then I'll squeeze line 10 back in. Permit IP from 2. So notice what I'm doing right here, and you'll see it when I do the show command. 0.113.0, 0.0.0.255, enter, to any. I forgot the destination. There we go. So I'm going to go back and do a show IP access list, and look at the two. I'm going to compare the two. On this one up here, I was permitting based on the destination. I was saying permit anything to the destination network, 203.0.113.0. Down here, I flipped it and said permit it based on the source. Because again, as we're thinking about it, look at this. We've got these networks. So here are the 203 networks, right? They're coming up, and I'm saying redistribute those into BGP. So it logically makes sense that those are the source networks, which is what I identified in the access list right there. I moved it to a source. So let's see if that fixes things. I'll do a show IP BGP. And hold your breath. Ha ha! Look at that. Oh, bam! Look at this. Look at this. So right here, you see the networks not only showing up, you see where they're coming from. Look at the origin code right there. What is it? What is it? A question mark. That's how you know if somebody got these networks. Well, I'll say usually. There's all kinds of ways you can do that, but usually the question mark for the origin means redistribution was used. Notice these, the I for the origin means that the network command. It's like, I know where those came from. Those came from the network command. That was normal. These, I mean, think of it from BGP's perspective. It's like, I don't know where those came from. They came from somewhere, just kind of redistributed into me. So question mark. Now we'll find out later when we look at the BGP metric, like how it figures out the best routes. The internal origins, known origins, are better than the unknown. Right, so this is considered kind of a lesser route, but nobody usually cares in the big picture of things. So that being said, that was the problem. The access list was reversed. We had to do it on the source, and that will help us as we do this final step right here. Set up BGP to OSPF redistribution. Oh, I'm going to change my pen color real quick. Set up BGP to OSPF redistribution with a route map, ensuring only the one network, you don't want to redistribute the entire internet routing table, appears in the C1 or C2 routing table. So as we're redistributing the internet routes from BGP to OSPF, I only want the one network, 1.0.0.0/8, to make its way through. So right, we should feel pretty good about doing that because it should just be the reverse process. So let's bring that up. Again, I'm on the fish router, which is the OSPF Autonomous System Boundary Router. I'm going to go into global config mode, IP access list, and we will do, and this will be IP access list extended, and we'll do the name of this access list will be let's do BGP to OSPF. If you had a good plan, you would be really consistent in your naming, and you probably would use consistency in your underscores instead of your dashes and et cetera, right? But for now, we're just kind of going on off the cuff. So BGP to OSPF, and we're going to match. So we're going to permit, this time we're not going to get it backwards. We're going to permit the IP addresses or the IP protocol from the source of 1.0.0.0, a wildcard mask. Remember, the wildcard mask is backwards of the subnet mask, so 0.255.255.255, right? We're permitting that one to any destination. Again, we're going the source this time. We're matching that source. Good. So then we're going to come back out here. So that was step one, right? Step one, create the access list. Step two is now to take that access list and make it a match statement in a route map. Route maps are what you apply to your redistribution and to a ton of other BGP stuff. So I'm going to do a route map, and we can name it the same thing. That's cool, and that's probably better, so we don't have to remember what name is what. So we'll do BGP to OSPF and enter. Now, by the way, a little bit on route maps. If I exit back out here, BGP to OSPF, I can hit the question mark, and you can see I've got sequence. Remember I said this is like basic programming, sequence 10, 20, 30. You know, it's like line. I could type that in. If I don't type a line number, it automatically increments in increments of 10 every time I go in there, right? So route map BGP to OSPF, and I'm going to say match, just like before, the IP address, and that's where we're going to say the access list name was BGP. Actually, it's still right there. Just right click BGP to OSPF and hit the enter key. That's it. Because I only want to permit the one network through this filter. Okay, so now let's go into router OSPF 1. Sweet, I'm there. I'm going to type in redistribute because I'm sending. Now again, hang on, grabbing a pen. I've got the internet, midnet, and bignet right here. BGP routes, the whole internet routing table is coming to my fish router, fish one. And I'm putting an access list on there that's saying only allow 1.0.0.0/8 through, right? So C1 and C2 should only see those, see that route coming through, right? Good. Okay, so that said, I lost my head. Lost my head. Okay, so I was going to redistribute. So hang on. Where am I? I'm in OSPF, right? OSPF. Yeah, OSPF 1. Redistribute BGP. Okay, what autonomous system is BGP? Let's look right here. Fishnet is autonomous system 64777. Good. Okay, so I'm going to pop up here. Redistribute BGP 64777. Now let's hit the question mark. I'm going to attach, big deal. Oh, so many big deals right here. So first off, subnets. This is so dumb. I don't know why OSPF does this or why Cisco did this or what. If you don't do this, it only redistributes classful networks. It's like, hey, there is no subnetting. Let's just do it. So always put consider the subnets, right? That's smart. So we're going to say subnets, and then we're also going to say, I'm going to attach the route map, and it should still be on my clipboard, right? I highlighted something else, obviously. Subnets, there we go. So let me hit the tab key. Okay, subnet. So I'm going to attach the route map and scroll back up. Where is it? Route map, BGP to OSPF. I don't want that carriage return afterwards. There we go. BGP to OSPF, right click. There we go. Route map, BGP to OSPF. Now, and again, I can go crazy. One of the things you probably want to do for OSPF is set the metric. Like OSPF has a metric, right? And if a lot, and I can't remember, some protocols, if you don't set a metric, it will not work. It won't redistribute. Some it'll be just fine. I always set a metric just to be safe. So we'll just say metric of 50. That's fine. Metric of 50, and we can do that metric type. With OSPF, you have the external type 1 and external type, and I'm way off the beaten path right now. I just want to show you how to get BGP routes into OSPF. So I'm not even going to set the metric type. We'll see which one is the default, right? So metric will be 50. Good. I'm going to hit the enter key. And at this point, if we did everything right, I should be able to go now. So you won't see it on Fish 1 because Fish 1 is the ASBR, the Autonomous System Boundary Router. So I can do a show IP route, and I can see this guy knows all about the BGP routes, and he knows about the OSPF route. So he is the translator between the BGP and the OSPF language, right? What I can do is I can go to the customer routers. That's where you'll see it. And we'll do a show IP route. And let's see. Ha ha! Look at that. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we have redistribution, and you can see the default type is OSPF external type 2, which if you're an OSPF ninja, you know that does not increment the metric as that route travels through the OSPF system. It started 50 and it will stay 50, whereas OSPF type 1 routes will add metric numbers as it goes through different paths and things like that. So hang on. Did we finish the lab? Let's jump back here. I think we did. Hang on. We've got all the sessions reestablished. Bada bing. OSPF relationship. We did OSPF to BGP redistribution with a route map and BGP to OSPF redistribution with a route map, ensuring that one network is the only one that appears in the C1 or C2 tables. My friends, that was some pretty heavy stuff. You might need to go through that a couple times, but I now encourage you, if that was your first time through, do the lab. Open it up and do that yourself. See if you can do it without looking, without watching me do it again. But if you need to, that's fine. It's fine. Do it. Do that yourself. Commit that to muscle memory. For now, we have, hang on, big climax here. We have advertised prefixes between an interior gateway protocol and BGP. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing. So that's it. And by the way, this is now the second. This is kind of fun. I can't see how many viewers I have. I think I have like one, which is great. Which just having someone hanging with me and watching some of the stuff I do is fantastic, because normally I'm just talking to myself doing what I do. So before I close down and stop streaming, let me just bring up the chat. I haven't been watching this whole time. Looks like because I did not have it open. I don't see any of the messages. All I see is thank you and very informative. Thank you. I've got one chat messages. Cool. And it looks like 3 viewers that are there. Cool. So this is fun for me because this is a way of streaming, so you guys can get some benefit and see a little behind the scenes of what I do, and recording nuggets. This is for the CCNP ENCOR certification all at the same time. So I hope this has been informative for you. I'd like to thank you for streaming.